Good day, poker peeps. Sky with Smart Poker Study. So for years, I've been telling you, learn something, do something. You do some studies by reading a chapter in a book, watching a video, listening to a podcast, and then you learn a few things, take notes in your poker journal, and then you should play a session to practice those things. But I don't think I've really demonstrated it up to this point. So that's what this is. We're going to watch a little training video from Fedor Holz about check raise bluffing. A little brief segment, about 2 minutes long or so. You're going to see me take notes on what I learn from this video, and then I'm going to open up a couple tables, and we're going to practice check raise bluffing. Let's do it. Gambate! So here's the video from Poker Code featuring Fedor Holz. It's his top 5 poker bluff spots. We're going directly to check raising flops, spot number 2 right here. So this is my little study and practice journal.
It's very particular about not only the spot itself, so to check raise the flop as a bluff.
Out of position as pre-flop caller. Okay. Works.
But it is really about the board structure. We want to choose a board.
So we're going to focus, I guess, mainly on defending out of the blinds for this particular pot. You can check raise as the cbettor as well. Open in the cutoff, the button calls. You can check raise flops there. But we're basically going to be focused on spots where we were the pre-flop caller, so we have the weaker range, and probably going to be using board structure to determine whether or not a good check raise bluffing opportunity.
Choose a board structure where our opponent maybe bets too much.
So maybe something like greater than 70%. So it's really hard for them to defend against a check raise.
Or bets hands he's not supposed to bet. And or B, he doesn't call enough.
So you can also look for a spot like this. If you have a good history on your opponent, you could look at cbet and then fold to a raise if you have that statistic in your HUD.
With hands that he's supposed to call with. And mostly it's a combination of both too. Like he maybe cbets the flop too much and then ends up in...
So let's do this. Look for cbettors who... That's what we want. So they have a wide c-betting range and they fold frequently. So probably tag and lag players who are just willing to fold. Like you've seen them fold in various spots before. Maybe they fold to 3-bets a lot. They fold out of position versus cbets. Maybe they fold in position versus cbets. Just generally tag and lag players. You probably want to cbet check raise bluff less often versus maniacs and fishy players who cbet.
In a spot where he cannot continue with a lot of those hands and our check raise profits from that. Or he maybe cbets the right amount of hands, but then when we check raise, he just folds hands that he's not supposed to fold, and we profit from that. So that's generally the core idea why I would say check raising flops is a pretty nice hotspot. Now let's go to particular boards that I think are very nice.
So we got to think about boards. Good check raise flop texture.
It used to be paired boards, actually. I would say that people didn't call enough ace highs or king highs, or generally didn't really float enough. It's not so much anymore. I would say right now.
So I don't know what stakes he necessarily plays at, tournaments or cash, whatever it may be. But in the micro stakes and small stakes where I do most of my coaching and playing, players are still folding on paired boards. A lot of the higher stakes players who study a lot, who know poker, they've been playing for years, they realize that those chicken boards, those paired boards, those 10-10-5, king-king-3 kind of boards, those are good ones to cbet and then stick around them because your opponent does try to use them. Because on a king-king-3, he doesn't have a ton of threes, pocket threes maybe, but ace-3, that's not really a value hand, right? He might check on the turn after check raising flop on the king-king-3. And there aren't many kings left in their range. 2 kings on the board, king-queen, king-jack, king-10. Sure, but a lot of players will just check call to slow play them instead of check raising for value right there. So I think for the stakes that I play and the stakes I coach, paired boards are still good for check raise bluffing.
Currently, what is a really nice hotspot is high, low, low rainbow.
So high, low, low rainbow. Let's think like, for example, king 7-4 rainbow. That's probably a pretty good one. Even better would be king 7-3. 5-6 is open-ended. He open raised pre-flop. He might not even have 5-6 in his range, but now there's no open-enders. There's only backdoor draws and gut shots like 4-5 and 5-6. King 7-3, high, low, low, jack, 6 deuce, rainbow would be good. Ace 9 deuce. Actually, ace 9 deuce would be good, but ace 8 4 would be good as well, rainbow. So there's plenty of good boards right there. Now, your opponent open raised, sure, they could have king X, jack X, ace X, but those are all still pretty good boards to check raise on. They can't hit a ton of good draws. And a lot of their range, if they open raised with king X, queen X, jack X, they don't like the ace. And for all those same cards, they don't really like the king. All their ace X, queen, and jack X didn't hit anything. Pocket deuces, 4s, 5s, and 6s don't hit anything on that. So these are pretty good.
Well, boards,
basically, hard to hit dry boards, I believe, is what he's talking about.
For example, so let's say king 6 deuce or queen 5 deuce rainbow board, I would say is a board that you get way more folds than you're supposed to. I like to check raise, and I would suggest you to check raise boards where they have to continue with
I'll go back in a second. I want to think about size and barreling. I don't know if he covers these, but these are key ideas here.
Paired hands, backdoor check at way more folds than you're supposed to. I like to check raise, and I would suggest you to check raise boards where they have to continue with unpaired hands. Backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw hands, for example. So king jack back.
Like he's saying backdoor straight, backdoor flush draw. On the king 7-3, I can't remember, did he use the example king 6-4? King 6 deuce maybe is what he said. But either way, 10-7, if they cbet, 8-7, probably if they think you're bluffing, they should be calling. But that's kind of hard on a king high board, just calling with a weak second pair hand. If there was a king of spades and then they had like ace 4 of spades, only a backdoor draw, 1 overcard, he's saying they should continue on that. But if you find players who don't defend enough versus the check raise, they're willing to fold those marginal pairs and weaker kind of backdoor draws, then those are good players to target and good boards to target as well.
Backdoor flush draw, king 10 backdoor flush draw, jack 10 backdoor flush draw, stuff like that. All those hands have to continue, and that can even go as low as 6-7 backdoor flush draw, depending how deep you are.
So he's saying the words have to continue. You don't have to continue with those hands, but if your goal is to not be exploited, to cbet, but then to not let them have an easy bluff on you, then yeah, you have to continue. But that doesn't mean you have to continue with a call. Now, we're looking at this from the other's perspective, not the check raise bluffing perspective, but he's saying have to, basically like a minimum defense frequency is what he's referring to. You don't want your opponents to have the easiest bluff in the world, a bluff check raise against you. You have to, according to him, you have to be continuing a lot. But I know, so that's whatever stakes he plays at. I know for myself, micro stakes and low stakes games online, when somebody check raises you, especially thinking about sizing, if you make it 1/4 pot and they check raise you 6x, they probably have something right there. There's a good reason for them to check raise. It's quite often fine to overfold, especially if you have nothing at all. Let's imagine you have 10-9 on the king 7-3. All you have is a backdoor straight draw. Maybe it's 10-9 off, or maybe it's 10-9 of diamonds, but there's no diamonds on the board. You don't have a backdoor diamond draw either. Totally fine to be folding. You do not have to defend versus check raises if they're more likely than not check raising for value.
Players don't find these continues, so they just fold too much on the flop when they don't have enough very clear continues. And to them, it might seem like, oh, I just call, ace, king and better, but they have to defend much wider than that. And so that's why on a board like this, your check raise is going to be a really nice instant profit on the flop, and then you can still navigate on turns and rivers. And another board structure that I think is quite nice is rainbow disconnected boards, for example. Could be a jack 6 deuce board, which I also think functions very nicely for check raises, kind of the same logic as the high-low.
Well, that's what we got here. Dry, unconnected, jack 6 deuce, 10-5 deuce, 10-6 deuce, 10-6-3. All of those are decently. So this is still the same thing. Dry and unconnected is what
keep those in mind. I think they're going to bring you a lot of fun check raising and seeing your opponent fold regularly.
Okay, so
the second nice.
So that's it. He's going to talk further about check raising in different spots. Maybe it's the pre-flop raiser, but we're focused today on just out of position as the pre-flop caller right here. Now, he didn't mention size, and this is something you definitely want to think about. Let's think about versus cbet size, right? The smaller cbets signify weakness. Not 100%, right? But just the weaker, the smaller the cbet, the weaker it is. So target small cbets. If somebody comes in with a 3/4 pot cbet, your check raise bluff is going to have to be so much more to get them to fold. And it's more likely with a larger cbet that they're doing it for value. So you want to tackle, I believe, smaller cbets. Your raise, I don't want to say should be, but roughly 2.5 to, let's just say, 4x or so. And I'm about to play a session. We're going to get to see some sizes. Let's imagine, quite often I see like a roughly 6 big blind flop. Your opponent will cbet 2 big blinds. Well, if you come over the top and you just make it 5, it only costs them 3 more big blinds. And it's just so inexpensive. You have to hit their pain threshold with your bet. Hit their pain threshold with your check raise size. And then so we're going to try to do that in the demonstration that we're about to do. Hit their pain threshold with the check raise size. Now, here's a key thing. He didn't mention this, but oftentimes, so he was saying the opponent who cbet has to defend against your check raise. Well, let's imagine the opponent realizes this and they think minimum defense frequency, I have to defend against these check raises 60% of the time. So they choose some of their best hands, but they but they defend by calling. One of the reasons why you should defend a little bit more often, if your opponent is capable of bluff check raising, is because they're not going to barrel as often as they should barrel. So you cbet, they check raise, you call, they check turn, boom, you pounce again with a double barrel on the turn after calling their check raise on the flop. So as the check raiser for me, I need to barrel most of the time. Checking turn out of position shows weakness. So I need to I need to check raise with hands that have decent drawing equity. Like, let's imagine, so king, let's choose one of these right here. King 7 3 rainbow. Let's imagine I called preflop with ace of spades, 7 of spades. There is a king of spades, 7 of diamonds, 3 of clubs. So on this board, second pair, ace over card kicker. So an ace is great for me. A turn 7 is good. A spade gives me a flush draw. And so this is a pretty decent hand. There's a lot of different cards that can come to let me barrel. Now, I could also barrel on blank cards. I can barrel on blank. So a deuce, a 4, a 5, a 6 as well. Because if I check raise and he calls, sure, he might have open raised preflop with 5, 6, but it's probably only 5, 6 suited that would do that. And a 4 doesn't help all of his ace high, queen high, jack high hands. I could barrel and get him to fold on all of those blanks. And then quite often, he might have himself an ace 7, an 8 7, a 9 7. He cbets, I check raise, he calls. He's not going to like overcards to the 7. He's not going to like a queen, a jack, a 10, a 9. 8 7, I mean, there's probably more of the connectors, 8 7s in his range, but all of those cards I can barrel on too. So I'm going to utilize my own hand with the board texture, and before I check raise, I'm going to think about what turn cards I can barrel on. So now that we've done our studies, we've taken all of our notes and everything, now it's time to practice. Put ourselves in a spot to check raise bluff the open raiser. That means defend the blinds with, like, I want hands that can give me lots of drawing equity on flops, right? So I want suited, connected, big cards as well. So we could think I'm gonna defend the king 9 suited, the king 10 suited, the queen 8, queen 9, queen 7, 7 6, 7 5, 8 6, 8 5, 8 7. Like, so many suited and connected hands I'm going to be defending because I want to check raise bluff. I want to put myself in spots to check raise bluff. And I want to have good enough hands that, depending on the board, maybe, like, what if I flop the flush draw plus the open-ended straight draw plus 2 overcards, right? Like on a 10-9, 8-7 deuce board. Awesome right there, right? Really good check raise bluffing opportunity. So in order to practice, just in general, whatever you learned, in order to practice what you just learned, you got to figure out what situation you need to put yourselves in. yourself in. And now, when not involved, so obviously I'm going to be playing two tables for us for a short bit. When I'm not involved in a hand, I can still see a flop and gauge, okay, what hand would I want to have to check raise bluff on this flop? And so that's a way to continue noodle on the hands you would check raise bluff on the flop. Nice and simple. And then also think about, what size would I check raise bluff to? Those are good things to think about right there. Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and open up two tables on Ignition Poker. We're going to play 10 NL. We're going to minimize this, get that out of here. Got the desktop clean. We're going to be getting our first table real soon right here. I'm going to keep these notes. Let's see. Move the notes over. Move my camera over. And then, one thing I forgot to mention. I'll open up a second table right now. One thing I forgot to mention, goal. I'm going to play 5 until I get 5 successful check raise bluffs. That is the goal right here. So on the queen, 5-4 board, 6-7 of hearts would be, of course, it's a great bluffing hand. Ace 3 of hearts would be good. If I had something related to the queen, check raise bluffing, if that 9 could have been good, a 10 jack of diamonds, an ace, a king jack of diamonds would have been good as well. A lot of different cards that I'd be willing to barrel. Or I would be willing to check raise and then potentially barrel. In the video, I'd mentioned king, 3, right? But this is a really good one to check raise with anything like with some kind of a backdoor flush plus a backdoor straight draw. For example, ace 10 of diamonds. And the overcard holding an ace as well. Queen jack of diamonds or whatever those other suits were. Those would be good ones too. Because if your opponent calls, you don't necessarily put him on a king, but a queen, a jack, another diamond gives you a flush draw, a 10, an ace, a 9 give you straight draws. So plenty of cards in that instance on that paired board. Now in the jack 5-6, I would love to check raise right now. I know it's a tiny pot. Just imagine I had defended out of the big blind versus an under the gun. I would check raise for value with any jack, obviously. A couple of hearts would be great. Ace 7 of hearts would be good. 7-8 of hearts. 7-8 of diamonds, too. 10-9. There are so many different hands I could hold and be willing to check raise on this board. Now the 4 hit. So 7-8 would have just completed. The heart hits. The way they've played it, yeah, anybody who bets, well, he'll call with any pair. Tiny pot. You'd have to bet bigger to get him to fold. Deuce 6, pair of 6s. See, if I would have check raised and if he would have called on that 4, he might have stuck around on the 4, but if I had a flush draw, that river would have made me a flush. Ace 7, this might be an opportunity. I wish it were suited, but it is an ace. I'm not going to defend in order to check raise here. I'm going to defend this one. If he just calls or folds, I'll defend and put myself in a possible check raise bluffing. This is a decent hand to defend with. That's fine. We're going to defend. We're going to defend. We might. Wow. 10 and a 6. Ooh. Backdoor flush draw. Backdoor straight draw. 2 undercards. 5.7. He bet pretty darn big. Ace 7. I'm willing to barrel. 12, 21. I'm willing to barrel. Now, this is a check raise for value right here. 2.0. Oh, he bet full pot. 2.9. Let's just try it. Yeah, 9. I'm willing to barrel on any 9, 10, ace, queen, heart, all of those. That worked. Now, that wasn't a successful bluff. Hey, we got one bluff check raise working here. Even versus a full pot, but it was only 2.9 big blinds. It's not a bad 3-bet, especially versus that. That's a really weak ISO raise. I could have 3-bet here, but he hasn't faced any 3-bets yet. I don't know much about him. He doesn't like to fold to 3-bets, probably even after he puts a hand. Oh, check raise. Value check raise. Decently dry board. Nice. What is pot? 19. I like 13. So king 9 6. Let's imagine I had queen 10 of spades right here. That's a very good board. 208. He folds only 40%, so he's trying. That doesn't help him at all. Let's get value from all weaker kings, even a 9, 7, 8, open-ender? Yeah, let's get value. Barreling for value. Okay, he folded. Okay. I like a 3-bet, but I'm going to call because I want to check raise, and the hand's good enough to call. Don't do it. Don't make it 8. Oh, make it 8. Make it 8. I'll go 25. Ace of hearts. Time down a little bit. Check. When you time down, especially if you've been generally just acting fast, it makes your opponents think that you have a hand. 2.5, we're going 9. Gut shot, backdoor nut flush draw. And it was only 2.5, 1/3 pot. Hey, check raise, success. Very wet board. Cbet's 100%, 2 out of 2. 1.7? That's actually a pretty good spot, or that's a pretty weak bet size on this board. Yeah, he did it. He went bigger there. So I think he would have re-raised me. He would have re-raised with something good on that board. He didn't do it. Wow. The only way for me to win this is to shove. And that just connected with this. He called my check raise. He called my big turn over bet. That connected with this. I can't get him to fold. Yep, exactly. Can't get him to fold right there. Oh, here's a queen 10. Ooh, and an ace 7. Okay. A couple of potential check raising hands. I'll call. Cbet 50% of the time, only 1 out of 2. Oh, I wish I had 2 diamonds for the backdoor draw, but it is a hard to hit board. Delayed out of position Cbet. This is probably a one and done. There aren't a ton of cards I want to barrel on. The only thing to barrel for value would be an ace, I guess, right? Good, it worked. So paired board. So I'm not saying that Fedor Holz is wrong, because he's obviously right. The guy knows what he's talking about. But when he's talking about the paired boards, it's mostly at higher stakes with higher level players who really think through things. Because at the micro stakes, you're going to get players who they just look at the board. Holy crap, king, king, 4. 8-8, what, I can't remember what that was. Whatever that board was, 8-8-3 or something. They're going to see that and go, oh my God, I don't have an 8. I don't have a 3. I don't have a straight draw. Don't have a flush draw. I got to fold. And so when your players are more like level 1 thinking, not players, when your opponents are level 1 thinkers, the paired boards are still good. One out of 22. I'm not worried about him. Not gonna do it. Too bad I don't have a diamond. But it is a hard to hit board. We're just going to go 7.5 right here. And I got 2 overcards at least. Backdoor straight draw. He doesn't have to have a diamond. 16. 1/3 pot. Dang, man. Nobody's believing me now. I have to beware. Be wary. Oh, or yeah, trip 10s. We are done. Alrighty. Well, as you can see, we ended with 3 successful check raise bluffs. So that went decently well. But thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Now, I highly recommend that you do this for yourself. The next time you study something, you're taking notes along the way, you learn 1 or 2 things, put yourself in a spot to practice it in your next session. That's truly how you're going to learn to make these plays. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.